open up. You Opium, bitch, you won't be BM. We should be closer than friends.
Good morning, and thank you guys for stopping by. My name is Shishi, So Spiritual, and I want to welcome you guys to my new channel. Okay, so let's start off by apologizing to you guys for this weird crop angle that I chose for my video this morning. I really apologize because most of the stuff that you guys see on the table is gonna be like cropped out if I hold it above the angle. So apologies for that. Also, I just want to let you guys know that this is a ritual, two different rituals that I've been doing for a friend. I did a tarot reading for her a few days ago, and it was determined that she was having some issues within her marriage, and that we needed to do some healing in the areas of her mind and her spirit. So we got a blue candle here, and we're gonna start with that. For her marriage, we're gonna be using a red candle for a male and a white candle for a female. Red usually represents vitality, sensuality, sexuality. Did I say vitality? White usually represents purity, clarity, and all the things that deals with clarity, purity, and sensuality also. So we're going to be using these two candles to work on her marriage. So in addition to the candles, we're going to be using a blue kyanite stone, and this is really good for clearing negative energies that you might be holding on to in your mind, and it's really good for bringing in that good calming energy. Also, I have some blue lace agites, and these are really, really, really good for your voice and your throat chakra. So healing and bringing in some calmness. The white streaks in it also brings in that clarity and also some pureness. Blue lace agate. We have these green stones, and green is always good to bring in fertility, and it's always good for using in love spells. So I'm going to throw in some green, and they're both in the military, and they're pretty high rank. So ain't nothing wrong with a little money. We all know green brings in more money. So I also have some Stop Confusion oil. This is really good for the calming ritual that we're going to be doing for her. Calm down her running and racing mind. Really good for that. And then the rest of the oils that we have here, we're going to be using in her tying her marriage back together and bringing in some new pure energy. This one is the Lodestone oil. The Lodestone itself is really good for magnetizing things, and a lot of people like using it for money spells, but in a love spell, it is really, really good for bringing two people together and magnetizing their energy together. So we're going to be using it for these two individuals. Then we have some, I think this one is binding oil to bind their loves together. Then we have the love honey, of course, to bring love and passion into their life. And then we have some tranquil oil, and that is going to bring a lot of tranquility back into their marriage, which is always necessary. And you can find, of course, honey from your local grocery store, any local grocery store. And we're going to add honey to both of these rituals, okay? So, yeah, this is just regular honey. We're going to add honey to her personal healing spell to bring some sweetness to her emotions, and we also added to the love spell to bring sweetness into their marriage. This is always necessary, so you can never go wrong with adding honey to your rituals. So, and again, you can find this in any local grocery store. I have the opium here, and we're going to use this and burn this. And it's black opium, by the way, so it's really strong. And we're going to burn this while we're creating the candles for the marriage, while we're creating this whole ritual for the marriage. It's going to be very potent and very necessary. So if you're following me along in making this ritual, definitely have opium available. Here is some spices, and this is cinnamon. Be careful with you using cinnamon, but this is definitely necessary in the ritual that we're going to do to put the marriage back together. Here is some chamomile. We're going to be using chamomile in both of the rituals. Chamomile has very, very great healing and calming properties. Really good for calming down energies that are heightened and that are everywhere. And in these cases, we definitely want to add chamomile to both of these rituals. So we got lavender. Lavender is extremely calming, and so this will help her racing mind also. So we're gonna help heal depression do that. This is basil. Basil is really good, as well as rosemary. We'll be using rosemary in the love spell. I've cleaned all of my material with Florida water, and I have a bunch of different Florida waters, but this is the one I chose to use today. You can use whatever Florida water you have available. And here I'm using a white cloth. This is just a t-shirt really, but you can use whatever you have available. It's your art, you know what I mean? Typically people would use a red cloth when doing love spells, but for me, I felt like using more white. I feel like this couple needs more clarity and more purity, so I chose white. And since the male is red, I definitely want to go with the white cloth. And I have a slab of selenite, which I'm going to use as a prop for my couple. So you'll see how I do that later in this video. Now you definitely want to make sure to inscribe the client's names onto these candles. First, middle, and last names on both of the candles. You'll put the male's name on the male candle, and you'll put the female name on the female candle. Here you'll see me looking on my phone to remember their names, and I am inscribing their names onto the candle. Very important step. So these candles might be a little bit oily because I had forgotten to inscribe their names first before I rubbed them down with the Lodestone oil. It was the first stone that I used. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue oiling them down with the rest of the oils. So this is the Tranquil oil. I go ahead and put like a small dab on, and you want to make sure you rub down each of them with this oil. Both of them have, you do one to one, you're going to do the same thing to the other, and you're going to make sure you rub each and every crevice. You want to get really, really deep into the corners and the crevices of both of the candles. Very important. Don't miss a single. There shouldn't be a dry spot on these candles, but they also shouldn't be like dripping of oil either. So here I'm just adding all of the different oils onto, and it doesn't have to be in a particular order. Again, I started with the Lodestone and I didn't inscribe first, so then I went ahead and inscribed the once I put the inscription on, then I went ahead and added the rest of the oil. So again, that's what you see me doing here. It's just adding all the rest of the different oils. This one is the Love Honey. I'm just adding a little love honey onto the male, and then when I, get him super oiled up, I'm gonna add the same amount of oil. Doesn't it's no big deal if it's not the same exact amount, but I'm gonna add the same thing that I added to the male to the woman. And I make sure I get it everywhere, in every single crevice. Very important. And as you're rubbing your candles, you should definitely be saying affirmations in your head to this couple. If it's to yourself, make sure you're feeling that energy as you're rubbing. This is the binding oil. This is the oil that will bind the love and the maternal energy back into their love life. You know what I mean? So rub it, rub it, rub it. Lastly, we're going to add the honey. It's really sticky, so we add that last. It's no big deal if you put it first or in the middle, doesn't matter, but I decided to put it last because it's really sticky, and just for less of a mess, I put it last. And remember, the same steps that you do to the male, you do identically to the female. So you're going to rub the honey over the front, the sides, the back, all over both of the candles. So I went to grab my thingy. I don't know. I call it a pounder. But I had some leftover sea salt. I mean, some pink Himalayan salt in there. And I just left it in there. It's not bad. Salt is really, really good for doing healing rituals as well as love, especially with it being pink. It's really good for the heart chakra. So I'm going to add some chamomile to this. Not a lot, just a couple of pinches. Also some rosemary. Got a little bit of lavender pieces, just a little pinch. And then we're going to add in the basil. I just crunch it up and put it in there. Then I add a little bit of cinnamon, just like one shot really. And then I start to pound it. And it's a good idea to go in a counterclockwise type of motion. So you'll see me do that here as I'm mashing and bashing. And that's it. That's what you'll see. It's all mashed down. So then I just put the candle in my hand and I start to dress the candle front and back all over. It should remind you of like seasoning chicken or some type of meat, which I don't eat meat at all. However, I am no stranger to a kitchen. Being a child of Oshun, it comes natural for me. So, which is another reason why this stuff is, it's like my thing. I really love to do this stuff. But you're gonna make sure you get all of these spices all over these candles and make sure you pretty much saturate it front and back. And remember, the same thing that you do for the male, you're going to do that for the woman. You're going to saturate her also with all these spices. And I took the liberty to record this voiceover as I'm sitting on my balcony. I moved to Mexico and I get the privilege of meeting Ye Maya. Shoot, it's a privilege living in Mexico and evoking her from time to time. It's so gracious, her energy. But as I run out of spices, I use the whatever's left over and I, you know, completely make sure everything is just completely saturated. The ocean feels so nice out here right now. Here I took a piece of weave. Usually I use like thread or even some type of I have a hay yarn roll that I usually use, but I couldn't find it, so I decided to use some hair weave, and I used the Florida water to completely cleanse it. I'm gonna tie the couple together. And if you know anything about spell work or magic, you'll know that this stuff gets really messy. So as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit trying to tie them together, and they're slippery because of the oils. But I'm being careful to not get any of the dressing off. So, but keep trying and I eventually get it. So. Here, I'm just scooping up those things so that I can try to figure out how I'm going to place this. Looks like I figured it out. I tied the legs together. Now I'm going to work on tying their necks together. So when they're standing face to face, although, again, I cut this part out, but they're looking like they're kissing and they're standing really closely. So this is what you want. You don't want one to be taller than the other. You want them to be even in height. And then I'm going to add some more honey. So now I'm going to write my petition using the first, middle, and last name of both of my clients as well as both of their birthdays. I take my petition and I fold it toward my client. If this was a spell for yourself, you would fold it toward yourself. But since this is a spell that you're making for a client, you're going to definitely fold all the edges toward the client because you're sending it out into the universe. And then you're going to place it underneath your work. This definitely could have and should have been done first. But again, it was a step I skipped or forgot or whatever. But I didn't leave it out. So that was the most important part. Here, I'm sending my energy into them and sending it out into the universe. I'm gonna move this now to its location to where I want it to be, and we're gonna transfer it to my Oshun altar and let Oshun do the rest. Now you can certainly use whoever you choose to summon to help you with this work, but for me, I'm subscribed to the Yoruba culture, to the Yoruba tradition of Ifa. I am Omo Oshun, and so I ring the bell 5 times to call upon my mother, and I bring her energy into my clients and ask her to bring healing, tranquility, peace, sexual energy, love, everything that you would need for a full recipe for marriage, understanding, just all kinds of stuff that would deem a healthy marriage. Here, I give an ashe to Oshun and I continue. Now, when I'm done and when this candle is finished, I make sure I give Oshun an offering at the altar. This is an important step, but again, you don't have to use Oshun. You can use whoever you choose to summon for this. Like I said, for me, I choose to stick to the Yoruba tradition when I do my work. Feel free to use whoever. This is 1 hour later, and I will say that the candles look exactly like the reading. 2 hours in, the candles are still burning, but they've come to a halt. They're coming to a halt. And then I go ahead and I take all of the residue and I scrape it off my selenite, and I take the moist wax and all of the material that I used to create this beautiful, beautiful piece, and I am going to roll it up in a ball in my hand. I try to get all of the pieces. No big deal if you can't savage everything, but I tried to savage most of what I could, and I ball it up into this ball. One of my stones tried to get away from me, but got it back, and I put it into my hand and mashed it up with the rest of the items. And again, I'm going to put this into the cloth, and I'm going to send this to my client, and she'll put this either on her altar or wherever she wants to in her home, and she'll sweeten it up and use sage or Palo Santos or whatever she has available to bring that energy, that peaceful energy back into her marriage if it ever got thrown off a little bit. I spilled a little bit of wax while this candles was burning, but no big deal. Had to wash my hands because a lot of oils and different spices sticking to it, and I don't want to mess up the outside of the work that I'm going to be sending to my client. So now when she get this, she will not open it, she will not add anything to it, but if she got to a point where she do want to revisit this and sweeten it up, she can certainly just drizzle the honey on the outside of the cloth on the altar or wherever she might keep it at, but it will go on the outside of this cloth, not on the inside. Now, I've had previous clients that I've did stuff like this for that, wanted to do one visitation, and then for the rest they give it to Yemaya. We all know that Yemaya is really good for love. Oshun, she's good for sexual energy and vitality and things like that. She's good with bringing spice into your life, but a lot of people say that her energy for those type of works doesn't last long. So like I said, when you're done with this, you can certainly give it to her mother, which is Yemaya. You can take this to the beach or something, and you can give this to the ocean, and she'll bless your marriage for eternity. So that's a really good idea also. And I want to thank you guys for watching this, and I hope that this was very helpful to someone out there. Leave me comments below if you have any. Don't forget to subscribe and share and like. Thank you.